So this is based on a response that I've gotten from this post right here, where the person mentioned it was the first officer's overly aggressive response to the turbulence, which exerted too much stress on the vertical stabilizer and caused the tail to break off. From that point on is where I was able to go further with the concepts and be able to have a proper understanding of the pilot actions. Just based on that reference from this user here, I was able to create an idea on the spot and also the video. Now, this person here calls me an idiot. If you think that you're an idiot, right? This person calls me an idiot because I wrote that the tail also must have been weakened before actions and hands, and all the professional just did was release the tail the way the actual person wanted the professional to think at that time. I gave an explanation, but this person, and also hold on. I also gave the explanation. I also explained the timing of the professional thought. By means, the timing of the professional thought itself was derailed at a specific exact location in Queens, New York. So this was mentally done the way the actual person wanted the citizens on board on land. Now, this person is calling me an idiot, right? He's trying to persuade me by means allow me to purchase his idea that I'm an idiot. But you can't convince me that I'm an idiot when you just mention if you think. He's not even putting his inputs about the pilot actions, such as the decisions that the pilot made during the time the pilot was in the air with the passengers on board, and also the tail itself. So this person just calls me an idiot. This is where I noticed that the person response is out of human rhythm. So I said, explain it instead of making a personal remark. I said, correct me by sharing your own idea to me and point out the contradiction within my post. So I explained. So this person here had mentioned about, besides that, it was another person that I was speaking to. He was mentioning about the events, the sequence of the events. So I said to him that the sequence of the events are design and the timing too. When I hear about airplane crashing, it makes me think someone with advanced technology designed the events and the timing itself for specific groups of citizens who met the criteria. What I mean by met the criteria, at that there's a condition for them to be put on the airplane, and at the time in the air, it's where they met it. There was a condition. There's a requirement in order to actually put these specific groups of citizens on board. It's not randomly done, it's designed. And there's this person mentioned that there's a sequence to it. Let's go further down. Hold on. See, he mentions it's always a sequence of events. You see, he said it's always a sequence of events. That this is a same pattern that's being shown to him through each event that he hears about airplane crashing. I was able to interpret it at the time I was writing. Right? Now he said he doesn't know. I don't know how to reply to this comment of yours. In fact, doubts have been because this is a lot of information. I put a lot of details into my response, and I said there's conditions. by means they met the criteria. I said that there's conditions that has to allow these passengers, by means these citizens, to be passengers on board an airplane, and also the pilots. I don't know how to reply, so this is where he mentioned, in fact, doubts have been created in my mind too. So plane crashes are like clinical trials. Then this person comes along. See, as soon as the person replied to me, because this was actually getting somewhere. This was making progress. This is where I'm contributing my ideas, and this person is also contributing his ideas. When he mentioned about that there was doubts in his mind about airplane crashes. So this is where the multi-agent quantum AI computers had specifically instruct James Cosmo Blade through the cryptography keys. The cryptography keys already get it, it's embedded. It's set. This person's set. And he's following the instructions on the cryptography keys. The cryptography keys goes by a specific list entirely of what the multi-agent quantum AI computers had simulated, because it has a copy of this existence in order to make modifications. So it has to derail my actual idea because it was correct. It was leading to an absolute idea where it can actually convince people that there is an anomaly going on here. So I explain. There's more airplane crashing with human citizens than cargo airplane crashing with merchandises. There's a pattern that's my pattern here, and I created that pattern last year when me and my mom was having a discussion about airplanes. I had created that concept at that exact moment. There's a specific condition that needs to be met in order to execute the citizens on airplane. It follows the same principle as the lottery system and the employment system, that someone with advanced technologies design this event and time in order to maintain this civilization to a specific point. And this person, James Cosmo Blade, he dwells on me not speaking my language. That's not, he's telling me that English is not my actual language. And I speak a secondary language. Hold on. Then you see what he's mentioned. You are so far off the mark, it's not worth arguing about. This person's excusing himself from being able to introduce the idea during his first post, implying that I'm an idiot, because you can't convince someone that they're an idiot when you never introduce your own idea that have an input about the tail of the airplane and the pilot decisions. And also, not only the pilot decisions, why the citizens got on board the airplane to become passengers of an airplane that's crashing in Queens, New York. Yet this is already. He immediately goes on to talking to me as if he's talked to me before. He's showing familiarity. He said, "I'm never going to convince you, am I?" You can't convince a person. Look, this person said, "I'm never going to convince a person." He said, "I'm never going to convince you, am I?" You are so off the. How you can say that a person is so off the mark that is not worth arguing? And the very first thing that James Cosmo Blade said is, "You think like that?" He said to me that I'm an idiot. If you think that, you are an idiot. So I underlined, I said, if you're serious with your actual response, you should already introduce the idea to explain it. Well, Drew, so this person is telling me that my original post is pretty inarticulate because I've actually used my unique thoughts during that time by means using the correct concepts at that exact time. Now, this person goes on. This person saying that you appear to be suggesting Yet I never mentioned plane crashes aren't accidents, nor mentioned plane crash accidents. Never said that. This is what he had introduced. He also had mentioned about governments. That's what he introduced because I never said that in my first post. I never mentioned anything about governments. I never mentioned about plane crashing. Plane crash accidents or plane crashes not being accidents. So this is where he mentioned the word inarticulate. So this is where he's suggesting. This is what he's doing. He's suggesting. What he's doing is suggesting. He's suggesting to people that I do not speak, that English is not my actual language and I speak a secondary language. But he doesn't have that idea. He's also suggesting to people that I'm an idiot, but he doesn't have any input about the tell or the pilot decisions, nor does he have any input to actually prove that English is not my actual language and I speak a secondary language because I was born in Jamaica, Queens, New York. And the only language that I've spoken all my life since I was born in the United States, New York, Jamaica, Queens, New York, is English. So this is where he's telling me that you believe that you're crazy because he knows that I never had any input about the governments on my first post. I never mentioned anything about governments. I just I was actually contributing and wanting people to not only give ideas out to me, I wanted to share ideas to people itself. Because I've seen that the first person mentioned about the stabilizer had exerted the stabilizer to lose balance to lose the tail itself. The pilot was very aggressive. So this person said, I've misunderstood you. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? How, if you misunderstood me, wouldn't you want me to explain it in a simplified way for you? Then he's telling me to refer me to a line. He's referring me to an online dictionary, but that's where he's referring me to an online dictionary because he goes to an online dictionary to find concepts to learn because he can't create his own concepts. He needs to borrow them from an online dictionaries. He's not capable of creating it on his own at the time. So this is where he's mentioning to me I'm pretty inarticulate. See, I said you are making personal remarks about the way I use my language. The way I use my concepts rather than sharing your own idea. See, you implied that I think like an idiot during your first post because you were not thinking that about me during that exact time you posted it. If you was thinking of my response being incoherent, you would have given me an actual response rather than a personal remark. Because he said to me that I think like an idiot. And I said that I never mentioned anything about governments in my first post. So where did that idea originated from? This person's talking as if he knows as if he knows what happened with the airplane itself, what happened, how the airplane itself crashed. How the actual event happened. He's talking as if he the one who did it himself. That's the way he's talking. Because I never mentioned anything about governments. I didn't say there was a deliberate action on there on my first post. This is what that person had introduced. And it shows, since he introduced the idea about governments, it shows that he had doubts about his governments. And not only he have doubts about his government, James Cosmo Blade has doubts about his governments. He also have doubts about this airplane crashing in Queens, New York during November of 2001. And then he said, I can't give you much of a response because of your use of language is so poor that I'm having. Look, this person said, he didn't even use the word trouble. I'm having trouble trying to interpret your meaning. This person is not speaking English yet. He's referring me to an online dictionary. And yet he's missing concepts within his sentence. He didn't even finish his sentence. I'm having trouble trying to interpret your meaning. Instead, he says, I'm having to try to see if I try and make your words make sense. Now, this person is admitting to me that if he use my concepts within his response, that he's going to admit to me and the people who's reading my posts and his posts that I do not speak a secondary language and English is my primary language, and the actual idea that I presented is accurate. You see, he's admitting it. So I didn't respond back. I feel like I'm creating a point on your behalf, then countering it. You see, he used the word countering it, then countering it. This multi-agent quantum AI computer is allowing the citizen here to admit what it's allowing by means what the multi-agent quantum AI computers had embedded by means through the cryptographic keys. This is the instruction. It generates a thought. And that his thought wasn't actually in sync while he was speaking to me. It immediately derailed, you see? He admitted it. I feel like I'm creating a point on your behalf and then encountering. But then he said, it's a bit like talking to myself. He's not thinking that he's talking to himself. You see what I'm saying here? Look what he's talking about. He said, if I try to make it your words. So the last sentence here, if I try to make your words make sense, I feel like I'm creating a point on your behalf to encountering it. So this last sentence here contradicts the first sentence, which shows that he's not actually thinking about my language being so poor. And he's only saying that because he is suggesting to people that English isn't my actual language and I speak a secondary language and I'm an idiot. And he doesn't have any input about the tail or the pilot decision or any input about any serious evidence about me that English is not my primary language and English is and I speak a